to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jerry's still scooping himself out.
Mr. Schulte?
Yep.
Jones? Here. Mr. Moore? Yep. Here. First, consider approval of the agenda, and I would ask if we could flip-flop to discuss AEDs and stop the bleeds and the handbook changes. That briefly first. Get Sandy to hand that over.
Make a motion with those changes.
Agenda in that manner by Mike Schulte. Leroy DeBoer. Any further discussion or questions, comments? All those in favor signify with aye. 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 All those opposed, same sign. And then we look at the minutes from our last meeting. Approve the minutes from February 19th. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Next, we'll look at the schedule for next month. Assuming our auditor is going to tell we should have the meetings on the 12th and the 26th. Personally hoping that we will have a meeting to start the bid process for Tyler Avenue. I don't know if that will wait for the 12th or something prior, but I need to call a special meeting because I don't know the specific date yet. Good morning. Anything else, gentlemen, or interest in setting a schedule?
That sounds good. Hopefully we can call a special one.
Is that a motion for the 12th and the 26th?
Or are we going to have a special on the 5th?
A special? We're going to be special, or?
I'd like to see that Tyler Avenue get bid out.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a special meeting on the 5th of...
You're going to have the bids in.
They will be prepared for the 5th?
How far away is that right now?
Next week.
Next week, Tuesday. I think we can shoot, I think we can really shoot for that. So you're saying, let's see, March 5th.
Yep.
And then are we going to set a time, or do you want me to talk to Wayne, or?
Talk to me.
Yeah, because it's a special meeting.
Well, we'll just set the meeting date now then.
Yep. And the time, or?
I normally set them for 8:45, but it
Yep.
doesn't have to be.
Okay.
The variance meeting is at 4 in the afternoon, you can do the afternoon.
Oh, you have a variance meeting? Okay. Might want to push it back there then.
We aren't participating in that, with that board of adjustments.
Gotcha.
Variance meeting.
Oh, yeah.
What, 9 o'clock work? On the 5th?
I'm guessing I can talk to Wayne to confirm, but I'm guessing he's gonna wanna get up here a little later in the morning when he comes. Just from, he's coming from Lamar's.
Well, let's call the 5th then. Let's call it a special meeting. Once we know what,
Yep.
yeah, once we know what's going on.
I'll get right on that, though.
Motion, just the 12th and the 26th. Okay. Then we have a motion, this will only have a motion. And now support from Mr. DeBoer, set the March schedule for meetings on the 12th and the 26th. Everybody get a time? Further discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Hey there. Good morning.
Honestly, I'm not sure where the discussion item or the agenda item came from. But we did have a healthcare coalition meeting yesterday that had pre-approval submission for AEDs that has been approved by the region for the jail, conservation, and
The fairgrounds.
Aaron has expressed some interest in maybe supplying them within the secondary roads facilities. That would require an additional submission of pre-approval to get the grant to do the 90-10 split that would require $100 match, basically, from the entity. Because we would like to see the secondary roads crew proceed with. We don't know that for sure that it will meet the parameters of the grant. At that time, it may be possible still to purchase them for the department.
Well, I would say at a minimum our main shops, but we could even look at all of our shops potentially having something like that. Yeah, but two main shops, you know.
Also, would you be interested in, just being trained on Stop the Bleed, which the kit is a tourniquet, and then a roll of gauze, and then a scissors, some tape, and a pin, because once you put it on, you gotta date it and time it.
I see, yep.
So this is for your guys. If they did something to, somebody did something to that, that's just for your shop. That's not for you to, it would probably be covered, Jason said, like maybe under the Good Samaritan Act, if you come on something and you put a tourniquet on somebody to stop their bleeding. But mainly it's...
And it would not be to replace calling 911.
No. This is just to,
We're gonna stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
So, the guys there are exposed to hazards, like, they're running chainsaws, something can happen in real life very quickly. And so, these type of incidents, we wanna be prepared for them, and we wanna keep our people safe. So, I can see something like that being in with each equipment operator and their equipment, or, having it on board. So I can see a number of those kids.
Because that is part of that grant, is to try to get
Another area that the grant was trying to encourage and support was Stop the Bleed kit and the training for different entities, and Aaron had expressed interest for the secondary road crew there as well. If the grant covers that, those would be is that cost share too, or because it's under?
No, they would just pay for the whole thing.
Provided by the
Oh, wow,
grant. If not, then it would be $55 per kit, and that's something that you have to take action on, but I would encourage you to have that for your crew.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize you didn't have anything convenient.
Well, I'm sure we have some things, actually, this is, forcing the issue to be discussed too, so I'm gonna think about how we're going to manage these types of things in our department. We get, stuff, medical supplies and these types of things, but I'd like to, we were having a discussion yesterday about this, how we should maybe do a better job of our point of contact, kind of our chain of command on this, and how we're looking through this stuff every year too, having, going through all our products, going through all of our inventory, knowing kind of what we're doing, and then also the training side of it too.
Stop the Bleed kits too, conservation.
We did that for conservation too.
Cool.
So, but if it didn't fall under the grant, then you can purchase the AEDs for $1,000 a piece.
I see.
But part of the grant, if you are, if you do qualify, the grant is asking that the AED has to stay in a warm environment.
Yep.
So
heat shop. Yep.
And that somebody would be going around and making sure that it stays in a warm environment, and that the dates on the battery and on the pads are always maintained. So
at a minimum, it would be our two main shops that have multiple people at those shops. And that does separate us in the county so that we're within some proximity to it in case it's more likely to be utilized that way. So the other option is to have it at every shop, which we have, I think, 6 shops. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'd be the highest.
You can try for 6.
Yeah.
Then.
So you guys be aware and see if we were supportive or behind this. I would say there's some question as to whether it will be supported, since it's more focused for the work group rather than the public. But it's worth submitting, I think.
There's a lot of people working toward that.
Yeah.
Okay. The deadline for pre-approval is April 30, so.
Yeah, they've got a chunk of money that they got to spend.
So you're gonna help me with that application process, or?
Basically, I will just write the pre-request form, and there's only like maybe 4 or 5 questions to it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
No big deal. That's pretty easy. So, and then in order for them to, order the AEDs, I was just telling Nick, and I'll let, Jerry know too, that they have to have a check to public, you have to send a check to Public Health for $100. Once they get that check, then they'll go ahead and order, the AEDs from Avera Heart.
Do you say a timeline on that too? Like when is the?
The pre-approval requirement is it by April 30th.
Yeah.
April 30th, okay.
Mhm.
When is the submittal of then,
Well, the first one's already been submitted.
Okay.
So you can
Yeah, the first
submit
one's
more.
done, and it takes maybe a week for them to go through it and get your answer back, yeah.
So you would need that check by when?
As soon as you possible, whenever you guys,
okay.
yeah, because they won't order it until
And that
they
goes
get
to,
Public Health.
okay.
Is it under Osceola County Public Health, or what is it under next?
Osceola Community Health Services, I just asked these questions.
oh,
I can give you the address if you want.
Yeah, here in Sibley, yeah.
so it's funny, it probably come right out of my secondary roads account, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions or concerns, gentlemen, or? All right. Bring you into that loop sooner with the first.
Yeah.
We thought about conservation and should have included.
No
you
problem.
that time,
No
I
problem.
guess, for the
No
future,
problem.
but- Okay, thank you, Sandy.
All righty.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
Yep. Have a good day.
Okay, next we've got discussed handbook changes. We have Jack here. If we have some questions we want to briefly start that discussion with prior to the 9 o'clock identified closed session. Health insurance for part-time is one of the issues, items.
I think it's under section 9.1 in the handbook.
I have a copy, but
Yeah.
I don't know who's over.
I know we need to wait 2 minutes.
But,
I don't think we'll get that wrapped up in 2 minutes.
okay. Wrapped up. I noticed in here too, the procedure for closing the courthouse, since that hasn't been a thought, we can maybe address that too.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you think needs to be adjusted here, I'll just tell you, we normally, if there's something that is an immediate need to change the handbook, we'll let you know, and we'll go ahead and make that change, but otherwise, if you have items that need to be updated, we're certainly ready to do that at any time. We normally do a full review on handbooks about every 3rd year, because we keep a file of things that either language has changed, procedures have changed, or something's changed. When we keep those, they're not something that's immediate for anybody, but, we keep those in case you want to make those adjustments at the time that we're adjusting the handbook and so forth, so we can do it all at one time. This provision you have in under 9.1, when we were doing the handbook, I had asked a question about this because I didn't know whether I fully understood it, and I'm not sure I still do today, but, I think that it may be one of those things that's been in place for a long time, and then it just got continued on, and so, it's still there. I don't know how often you use this or not, and then at some point in time, I may be mistaken, but I thought somebody told me that this provision was put in there a lot of years ago, as a vehicle for the board to be entitled to the county's health insurance. Well, I don't know, I guess I'm puzzled by that, if that's the case, because, I've always known that, all of my boards have always been entitled to, by their office, be entitled to health insurance. So, I just asked them because I've never put anything in a handbook that, related to that. And so, they told me, as I think I told you, Rochelle, what they told me is that, that they all consider that supervisors are full-time employees because one is they satisfy the minute amount of time in the law, and the other is that because of the time that's put in either commuting or going to meetings and so on and so forth, then they're considered to be full-time employees. That's what they tell me. And so by that way, then they're entitled to health insurance. I mean, that makes sense, that's what they're telling me. So,
Their consent to rely on that.
so I guess in the question on this part is down here, on, the part about employees earning 2,000 or more, in that sentence right there, does that still apply? Is that still used?
Will we come back to that after the closed session? Sorry.
Sure, okay, yep, will do.
We have 9 o'clock item identified as closed session under Iowa Code 20.17.3 for public safety union negotiations. This is 9 or after. I would take a motion to enter closed session for that purpose. I'll make this motion. Mr. Helmers makes the motion. Jones offers support. Any further discussion concerning utilizing closed session? Mr. Helmers, how do you vote? Mr. Jones? Mr. Schulte? Mr. Moore? And I vote aye. We'll open it back up as soon as we're done with this. Yep.
No, we'll continue on with our handbook discussion.
Just a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk to you first. I got some in here too. Some Jolly Ranchers, some milk ones. It was kind of weird. I think I moved it all the day before the wind blew. I must have just been out of the right direction, but I didn't get any. Yeah, it blew through, so I was lucky. They get up to that stretch up on the hill, but Paul Moore were in between there and Henning, that thing is just. They called me about wind rose out there. I'm like, go ahead, man, knock yourself out. I don't know that it did a whole lot of good.
Sure, can we have somebody run some copies of this?
It's still full.
Thank you.
What's it really been laid out?
Not too bad, yesterday, but I wouldn't have wanted to be out there the 2 days before that. I ran about 40 miles of Interstate 80 down there yesterday, and I had never seen so many semis in the ditch and medium and jackknife ever.
I had heard that.
Oh, I bet the 40-mile stretch, I saw 20 some of them. I just couldn't believe it. All over the place.
Did you get a lot of snow?
Pardon me?
Did you get a lot of snow?
We didn't get a lot of snow down south, but what we got is that we got a little bit of snow, and then we got a little bit of ice, and then we got a little bit more snow. Makes it really bad on top of what we had, because at one time we had more snow than you had here, but when it melted on those warm days, and then it was much better, but then after that is the ice has just been terrible.
Really?
Yeah. And then, you know, right after that, it gets cold, so it don't go away unless you wanna put half a ton of salt on it.
Somebody said Lorenz had 16 inches of snow over this last deal, that's not that wide over there. I'm not sure if he.
You go to Fort Myers spring training?
A couple years ago, we did.
Did that?
Yeah. We're wishing you were there now.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
This weekend, they were looking at a possibility, but.
Aren't those ball fields on the road that wraps around there, is that like 6 Mile Cypress or?
The Twins one is.
Yeah.
The Red Sox is down there too, and they're on more on the east side now.
Right, yeah. Is that the Red Sox or who is it?
Red Sox.
Yeah. I had a friend that lived down there in a gated community golf down there,
Oh.
and they used to, the Red Sox family would come down there in like January and February and rent the homes for 2 months, and that's where they stay.
Yeah, it's nice down there.
Yeah.
For Des Moines.
Just the end of the year.
Thank you, funding, review that, right?
Spend time over at Fort Myers Beach then, or?
Lloyd Sandoval, we went to.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right.
We drove through there and said, forget this, we're gonna out here for Fort Myers Beach, because it's so busy.
So we have a 10 o'clock item, so we may need to
I don't care.
recess from the handbook discussion and come back to it.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm available.
The one thing in the handbook I'd like to see change specification time for an engineer. I think according to the handbook, it's what, 1 or 2 weeks or something like that.
I'm not sure.
But to get a good engineer, you're gonna go over that.
Okay.
And twice we've had to change it. So I think that should, we should address that.
So my question about the handbook is that, are we still using this language, or?
I'd like to see that language.
We are.
Under section 4 with the, or no,
Under
under
9.1, on that.
That permanent part-time employee, you're either part-time or you're full-time. I don't think there's a middle employee that's permanent part-time.
Rochelle, are there people that this applies to right now?
Yes,
Okay.
there are 2 people that are getting health insurance that don't work. They work 20 hours a week or less. And then we
Well-
kind of apply this towards the ambulance too also.
it doesn't, the ACA requires 30 hours, we have to provide it, so we really can't eliminate.
But then the ambulance crew, they don't make the 10,000, so we've been kind of, depending on what they make per year, we send letters out every May stating that, if they made 7,000, county pays 70% of their health insurance, they would have to pay 30% of their health insurance. All the civil crew that works over 30 hours a week. Right now, we have 1 employee at the ambulance crew that last year made, or 2 years ago, made over $10,000, we pay 100% of his family, or have single, excuse me.
Well, even according to the language that's in here, that's all you can provide for them is a single policy.
Yeah. But we have 1 employee that works 20 hours a week that has family coverage, single and family.
That we're paying for, or,
Yeah, that we're paying for half the family.
but that's not authorized in the current handbook. So I don't know how we could offer something that we didn't have the ability to offer with the current work rules that we have in place. How does that work, Jack?
You're talking about the people that have it right now?
Well, how do you offer something that's not allowed per the handbook we currently have in place?
Well, if you have people that, so then they don't qualify under this, I understand that correctly?
Not for a family plan, no.
Did they start before our new handbook, or
this is pre-handbook language, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you do about that unless you create a two-tier system and you just grandfather them. I mean, I don't know.
But they weren't eligible for what they currently have under the work rules that were in place when they were hired.
I understand that. I'm just saying that, you know, I mean, you have to just make a decision as a board if you're gonna rip the rug out from
If
underneath.
those in place at that time didn't make sure it was enforced properly, I have a hard time, like you said, jerking the rug out from under them.
Well, I mean-
Whether it was supposed to have happened or not at that time, I don't know why it did. I would favor grandfathering in and cleaning it up and making it clear going forward as to what.
Is that one person who's gross timber?
And then you've got one ambulance crew person.
That's just, we're just saying single line for the family there.
Vary from year to year.
Yeah, very, yeah, and he's well aware of that, it will vary.
Do what?
Do we do just a single then?
Yeah, that's all we're allowed to, usually with,
But this one's on family, right?
Not at the ambulance, another employee.
Yeah, the other.
Yeah.
And family would be available to all, it just wouldn't be there wouldn't be county participation.
yep.
Do you think we need the language about earning $2,000 or more for each $1,000 a part thereof, 10% of the cost of the policy saved?
I saw that in one of those union emails floating around, and I think this needs to come out.
I mean, you don't have to have that language in there if you're following the ACA and which you have to follow, so, which is, you know, if they average 30 hours a week, and then you have to offer them the insurance. No matter what anybody says, I just don't see that going away anytime soon.
Would it be good to put language in there that elected officials are covered? You know, he's given your understanding as to why there would be coverage regardless. Would it hurt to have it in writing or?
You can do that, yeah. I could put the language in there that, says something to that effect, that elected officials, you know, are entitled to because, and put that in there.
We want to adjust the employee status item so that we have just full-time and part-time and temporary. And then acknowledge it's under that section 4.1.
Are there permanent part-time right now?
Well, big deal.
That work 20 hours a week or more.
Yeah. But less than 37 and a half?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
if
the
that's,
sheriff's office said they don't qualify for this.
there's two things there. One of them is that identifies an employee status, but it doesn't identify the health insurance portion.
Right, but our health insurance portion uses the employment status terms.
Except,
We
you
reference
know,
permanent
if
part-time.
they're making 20, if they're working 29 hours or less on average, then they would be entitled to the insurance under the ACA.
Right.
So you're just gonna have to make that distinction. Okay,
I think just sticking with the ACA requirements makes things a lot cleaner and simpler.
I'm not opposed to that, I'm just, as I read the insurance part, it says full-time employees and then it says permanent part-time employees. So if we're only going with full-time designation and part-time designation, then we need to make sure that's defined and then used in this section. Otherwise, who's a permanent part-time employee if we don't have that status anymore?
does a permanent part-time employee and a regular part-time employee do different jobs?
No,
Okay.
one works 20 hours.
Uh-huh.
Part-time identified intermittent basis, so you may get over 20 hours 1 week, but that's only 1 week out of the month.
Right.
And then,
So I'm just asking because, you know, there's not a distinction there between permanent part-time and part-time, then you could have, you know, that part-time employees or employees who, now, do any of them, so do they get above 30 hours, permanent part-time? No? Okay.
No, not the one at Constellation.
Okay.
The other one works less than, but he's, you know, department head or grade,
Director would be.
18 hours a week.
So if on a regular basis that you don't have anybody that exceeds, an average is 30 hours, then your part-time could be designated, which a lot of counties do, as 29 or less. Average 29 less hours a week, and then it's consistent with ACA. I'm just asking if that
Or
works.
we really want to make a change that's gonna pull insurance coverage from potential future VA directors. That's the hours that they're tend to,
Oh, conservation too should be 20 hours a week. And then what about the,
well, I'm thinking grandfathering in, going forward, I think the director of the VA department or brought on by that board, I don't think it's unreasonable to have insurance available to that position.
But they've got a
Part-time
chance.
positions other than directors, and I can kind of see.
and then our annual too, then over 30 hours a week, we have to offer it to them. We accept it or not, but we have to offer it.
Offer it. They don't have to take it, but if they don't offer it, you have them sign something that they decline.
And I do
Okay,
here,
good.
They decided that they're sitting at the VA to go to for insurance.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. There's no requirement that it be a VA, it's preferential.
From what I've heard. it's what they want.
And it should probably be, but
Yeah.
it's a preference, but it's gonna be as available as possible, if that will be it, I don't know.
Now, ACA doesn't tell you that you can offer insurance to somebody under 30 hours a week. It doesn't say that you can't. Can. But that's up to you. Up to you.
Yeah, but just from a cost perspective, your benefits shouldn't be more than what you're getting paid every year. It just doesn't make any sense to do it that way.
Not on the face, but I think there are employers out there that are popular places to go because of benefits, but not because of pay, and there probably are situations where.
But those are usually full-time positions, those aren't 20-hour a week.
I'm not sure. The example that comes to mind is Village Northwest. Here, people are very pleased with the benefits package and the insurance that they offer, but it's not usually the pay that detracts in there. And I don't know if it's only part-time, or only full-time, or part-time is available. I'm not sure on that, but.
10 o'clock.
We'll just come back to this. Yeah, all right, that's fine. We have 10 o'clock item identified as Harris Windmill discussion. Focus on this.
All right, forgive me, everybody, I knew it next start. All right. I have went around the county and talked to people that live by the windmill and people that don't live by windmill, and started a petition that states we are citizens concerned about any changes or modifications increasing the blade size on the wind turbines, there is potential of more noise, infrasound, flickering, and light. We demand that the members of the board take the wind turbines on a case-by-case basis, allow modifications to ones that are not near residents, and do not allow modifications to ones that are close to acreages and will have a direct impact on the citizens of the county. So I went through in just over 2 days and 1 evening, Al got 32 signatures. In the swath, I don't know if you want to pass it around, in the swath where the windmills are at, I circled who voted yes. So if you see the track that the windmills currently go through, there are people that live by them and that have acreages, and I was able to obtain their signatures. The people that are owners of windmills on their property, I was not able to obtain their signatures. So, nervous.
I'm familiar, I'm Jason Matthews, I'm not familiar.
Michelle Abbey.
Okay, thank you.
That was my first step
Sorry.
here. All right. Can I sit?
Yeah,
Thank you.
please,
Okay.
sorry.
All right. My name is Michelle Abbey, and I am addressing you as a concerned citizen of Osceola County. My concern today is the modification that the windmill company is trying to implement. I'm asking that the board look at the location of the wind turbines on a case-by-case basis. I am not alone in this suggestion. I've spoken with many others that live here and have gotten signatures from those that have the same or similar concerns as myself. Most residents did not know that the windmill company wanted to increase the length of the blades, let alone that they are trying to change out that turbine head. A good majority of my signatures are by residents that live within a mile of a wind turbine. Those that do not live by wind turbines did not want to have the same issue happen to them. I urge the board to consider the well-being and welfare of all residents of Osceola County. As I bring up I'll bring up points that were brought to my attention by the residents that I spoke with, starting with the least amount of concern going to the greater amount of concern. So, the first issue was the environmental impact. With that being said, only one person brought this up. I looked into the concern that the wind turbines would be attributed to changing weather patterns, but I could only find that they affect the temperature by less than 1.5 degrees. So there really was no correlation to her concerns, but I did find out information about birds. According to an NBC article, and I quote, "But all clean, renewable energy comes with a high cost to the nation's wildlife. Researchers estimate that between 140,000 to 328,000 birds are killed every year in collisions with the wind turbines, spinning rotor blades, and support towers. The risk to birds are highest at night when the blades and the towers are cloaked in darkness," end quote. Says the windmill company currently has a system in place that allows them to track the migratory paths and shut off the windmills during these time periods. I was surprised to find out the deadly effects that the windmills have on the bird population, and even more disturbed to find out that they are also killing bald eagles. This is an article from Forbes magazine written by Jeff Hart, and I quote, "Wind turbines kill birds. Maybe not as many as the opponents would have you believe, but it is a problem for the renewable energy industry, along with improper sighting in bird flight paths. Of course, coal-fired energy in the United States kills birds too. Eagles, a symbol of America, hold a special place in the wildlife world. They are protected by federal law and certainly worth protecting from the whooshing blades of a windmill," end quote. By allowing the increase in blade size, it can impact the environment around the turbines. Few residents voiced their opinion about how the windmill company plans on the blade and turbine disposal. People that want windmills want to negate our footprint on the environment. If you allow the windmill company to come over and modify all of the windmills to provide people with more green energy, where do the old parts go? Do they get recycled, or are they just going to get shipped to somewhere like the desert in Arizona and slowly stay there and rot away? Is that really being green? The energy company really could just repair what they currently have, but that would cost them money, and they would not be able to make as much money off the taxpayer dollars they already receive to operate the wind turbines. I've heard that NextGen, right? Sorry?
NextEra Energy.
NextEra is trying to sneak this by as a repair and not a modification. The definition of a repair, to restore good or sound condition after decay or damage. The definition of modify, to change somewhat the form or quality of, alter partly. The windmill company is trying to skate by without paying more taxes on a project that they want to do in order to make more money. Increasing the length of the blade is an improvement to them, and it alters what was originally installed, thus it becomes a modification. If the board allows the energy company to implement these modifications on the wind turbines, it also impacts the roads. Several citizens that I spoke to are upset because the first time the wind windmill company came through and put the windmills up, the roads were never the same again. Most complained that the company never put enough material back on the roads, and others complained about the access roads. We have a wind turbine that is directly across from our driveway. During a deposition, it was brought up by my mother that the windmill access road creates a watershed issue on our county road and our driveway washes out. This summer it happened again, and taxpayer dollars go to fix that. It would have happened on 2 other occasions this summer, except for the fact that we went out there and moved rock and gravel so that the water naturally shed off into its own ditch. I cannot say that I will be able to do this at all times, and I would hate to see someone have an accident at night because the windmill company has an access road that's built up higher than the county road, which creates watershed and unsafe conditions for the residents of this great county. Osceola County currently has their setback requirements for the commercial windmills. Do you want me to read it, or do you guys know what it is already?
We know.
Okay. These setbacks were put in place for a reason. Few residents raised concern of safety and what the increased blade size would mean for that. According to a document called Safety of Windmill Systems, written by M. Rychem in 2016, the wind speed at the tip of the blades can reach 90 to 180 miles per hour, creating the possibility of ejection of ice junk. We all know the wind turbine by Harris that caught on fire. I would like to know how far of an area does the windmill company need to quarantine downwind during a fire? I would have to say that if conditions were different that day, such as high winds or during harvest season, that windmill burning would have been much worse, and we should consider ourselves lucky. How further would these lengthened blades throw ice and create more and have the availability to make more material to burn if they caught on fire? The setback also tries to take into account for flicker that the wind turbines make. We recently just built a home outside of Harris. When we were deciding where to place our house, we took the windmills into consideration. I was limited by where we could move our house running east to west due to a building, but I was able to move it north and south. We watched and saw where the shadow flicker happened on the property and placed our house several feet north of that line. If you allow the blades to increase in size, I could be looking at a shadow for a while during certain times of the year. How long and when, I cannot say. I previously addressed the concern to the Board of Adjusters and requested that the windmill company provide an independent study on flicker and noise of their proposed modifications. I have not yet heard anything. I spoke with a gentleman the other day. Though his shadow does not hit his house, it does come across his acreage during certain times of the year, and it scares him. He's out doing work, the flicker happens, it is a change that should not occur, so it's startling, like someone walking up behind you. Now, in town, if your neighbor was flashing a light on and off through your window, you would be able to call the local police department, and they would more than likely go and tell the neighbor to stop flashing lights on other people's windows. We do not have that luxury. Unfortunately, we just have to deal with it, or get thick curtains, live in a cave-like environment during those periods. I do not want to live like that. I built by pump. I have 4-foot by 5-foot windows. I don't need curtains. I don't want to use curtains. I like to look outside, see the ducks and the deer, my bird feeder, and even the squirrels digging for walnuts in the snow. I want to see nature, not a shadow flicker. One of the biggest complaints I got from a neighbor were the lights, or one of the biggest complaints I got from the neighbors were the lights. According to the National Conference of Legislatures, state legislatures, and I quote, for humans, exposure to bright light at night can interfere with the natural circadian rhythm, the 24-hour sleep-day cycle, by suppressing production of melatonin, the chemical that regulates sleep patterns. Research has linked this disruption to sleep disorders, depression, obesity, breast cancer, and more. They also cite that in, end quote, they also cite that in at least 18 states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, have laws in place to reduce light pollution. The lights on the wind turbines are for aircraft. Therefore, why not make them focus the light upward and not in all directions? For those of us on the ground, we do not need to look out at night and see a sea of red blinking lights. It may cost the windmill company more money to put these lights in place, but it would benefit our community and our residents. Once again, I'll bring back the purpose of your neighbor flashing a light in your window. You would not want to live like that. I remember looking at the stars at night with my father, and I have tried to take my children out to do the same thing, but find it much more difficult to see certain constellations due to flashing lights. Noise was a very big concern the residents discussed with me, and I cannot say that the noise will increase or decrease with the new turbine heads and longer blades. I will say that by lengthening the blades, it is my understanding that the infrasound will increase. I'm still learning about infrasound, and it is my understanding that this is the sound produced by the blades that is low enough in decibels we cannot audibly hear it. It is more like a constant pulse. Studies are going on right now to see if prolonged exposure to this noise increases heart-related medical problems. One thing I am aware of is that it does not matter if the noise decreases initially if they modify the windmills. If this company does not properly maintain the wind turbines, the problem that the individuals experience now will continue, and I cannot say that that with longer blades, they could be worse than they are now. The windmill turbines by us makes a variety of noises. We get the typical whooshing sound that one would expect, but we also get a dinosaur-like noise when it's trying to turn. My least favorite noise is the machine gun. I've experienced these when we visited here and when I moved back. It was for this noise alone that we decided we needed to spend a lot more money to spray foam the walls of our home in an attempt to deaden such loud and awful noises. It does help a little, but the noises are still there to ruin your outdoor time. My sister got married by our pond this past summer, and the windmill started their racket during her ceremony. Most of our guests were people from the state of Washington, and they could not believe that the green energy they were all promoting would be so horrid to live by. Several went back with the new knowledge that wind energy was not worth it because the impact it has on people's lifestyle. I would say again, for those of you that live in city limits, if your neighbor's blaring music or making a lot of noise, you have the availability to contact law enforcement, and they go and remedy the problem. What happens to those of us who live by windmills is we are considered habitual complainers. Once again, the few that live in close proximity to the turbines are forced to deal with it. This should not be the case. For those of us who live in the county, we should share the same rights as those residents that live away from windmills. A new bill was introduced in the state of Iowa that would require all future windmills to have a setback no less than 2,500 feet from residential property. If they are trying to make this a law, then there is obviously something wrong with the current setbacks provided in some counties. These windmills are too close to where people live and negatively impact lives. With that being said, I demand that the board look not only at the one person speaking here today, but at the concerns brought up by many citizens that are affected by the windmills being close to their property. You may choose to not allow these modifications, you may choose to not allow modifications to any of them, but I demand that you look at their location and do not let modifications happen to those that are near acreages, where it will have a direct negative impact on the residents that live by them. I urge the board to look at all the impacts, from the environment to their disposal, safety, resident safety, our current infrastructure, shadow flicker, the lights, and lastly, the noise. You are here to protect and maintain the health and well-being of your constituents. Please help be a voice for all of us that need our voice to be heard. Thank you. I have our property, my parents' property, and then the property of Tim Pisma. With where the house is, these properties all have shadow flicker that fall on them. I know there are others, but I don't have all the maps. There's quite a few, actually. But it'll show the distance and how far. So even on the one that hits my parents' house, and the windmill company is aware that they have a shadow problem, that windmill is 1,400 feet away. On our house, one window is 1,300 feet away. The other windmill is 1,220 feet away. And then from Tim Pisma, that had a very large complaint about the flicker, his house is 1,234 feet away, roughly, according to the drawing book. So if you
That's
wanna,
with the current,
that's where the windmills currently are. The property owned by Jeff Hidley, he has 2 windmills that create a shadow on his property. And a lot of people that I couldn't reach because they weren't home, so. And I'm not an attorney or a scientist, I'm just a concerned citizen.
questions or initial responses, gentlemen?
Should the landowners say anything?
My parents say something, I say something.
You own the property that's on the...
Yes, I don't own a windmill, I have a property that windmills are
Yes.
surrounding, yes, sir. And Tim Tidma, his house is one of those 2, and he has a complaint about the flicker.
Do the Hipmas own that property or not?
Tidmas own their property, yes. Yes. Their property is here. And they're in the same boat as us. Okay. I got one floating around there.
Did you get the notice of zoning variance?
No.
Would you like I think that meeting's on the 4th of March.
5th of March.
5th of March.
I saw it in the paper, so I'd already planned on attending.
$1,250, is it 1,250 feet, is it correct?
The variance, I believe, is 500 feet, according to the ordinance. The conditional use notice was, everybody within a half mile, if I'm not mistaken, which would be 2,600 plus feet.
So I should have received something on,
I think that's a conditional use notice, if you're within that proximity. I don't know where you live within proximity to a wind turbine, so.
1,220 feet away,
I would assume so.
and I have not received anything.
I have to check the, Sibley, Idle company that we hired to do the abstractor's notice. It's a certified list,
My
Prepared-
parents have also not received anything.
prepared by a local abstractor. It's not anything that we prepared. We hired them to do it, so. And it was a letter that went out,
Maybe,
it was on Monday.
maybe you guys should review that the people that are within that setback area receive notice.
When did you say the letters went out?
I have to check. Hold on.
This year, one thing they did was that they were taking efforts to avoid paying more taxes.
The modifications versus the repairs, whereas I'm under the assumption of if they run this through as a repair, they don't have to pay, taxes on the repair and piece. If they run it through as a modification, then they have to pay taxes on that.
It's a hot topic for discussion, the way the state
My
has it set up
understanding
at the moment.
with the era of this construction,
Mhm.
the state law regarding it was that it was based on net acquisition costs. So, my understanding would be that we're basically helpless to address repairs, improvements. We can't assess greater valuation because of what law, state law applies to that. So,
That'd be a great conversation to have with John.
yeah, I don't agree with that, that's
We got
where
that
we're at.
discussion.
Yeah.
Last time we came into this, as far as the lights go, the FAA requires what lights are used, is what they're saying. I'm glad to say we want certain lights, I just don't know that it's gonna carry any weight or matter a bit. So I'm not,
I would definitely encourage you to contact your state reps, Wills, and whoever, Zach Whiting, as to some of these issues. And as far as the lights issue, I did a little more looking into that. The only thing that the FAA determines is whether you need the lights or not. The kind of lights that go up, that's up for debate at the local level or the state.
I have no problem with requesting or expecting certain types of lights. I'm unaware, I'm not sure how
In the
much.
state of Arizona, for their windows that they have up there, I don't know if it's just through the whole state or like it is county to county, you know how, everyone has their laws. I know their lights focus upwards, so that they don't have the light pollution seen on the ground. The lights just focus up to the plane.
And North Dakota's only kick on when you have aircraft in the area.
Correct.
So I mean, there's all sorts of ways to go about that.
What property this is for?
I live at 1349 Vine Avenue,
What name again?
Michelle Abity,
Did you spell that?
ABADIE. My parents are on 1335 Vine Avenue, right next to me.
What name?
That'd be Randy Ross,
ROSD.
ROST.
As far as the.
Oh, you can keep on it if you want.
If they're too close to a residence, and they have more flicker, what are your comments about that, or are you addressing that, or?
Are we having the variance discussion today, or are we waiting till next Tuesday? I didn't bring my booklet in with me, so.
No,
what's the cause?
this is just an informal discussion
Okay.
today. So, the formal variance hearing will be next, Tuesday on the 5th.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear, because we're jumping from topic to topic, so.
We plan to offer a mitigation plan to all residents, though. We'll come out and meet with you personally at your property and determine the best way forward, should shadow flicker increase on your property. I believe there's a solution that can be found.
These properties that I printed out currently have shadow flicker on them. So windmills increase the length of the blade, the shadow's going to get there for a longer period of time and on more of an area. Like a sun, It's in theory like the same principle of a sundial, you know, however high you have the peg up means how far out the shadow goes. So by making the blades longer on those that are by acreages, they're going to cast more of a shadow.
Did I understand last time you were with us that you were only contacting those that the increased length now affects?
We will contact anybody that contacts us. If you call us, and regardless if you're impacted, post, the longer blades being put on, we will come meet with you. This is open to every resident within the project.
But what does meeting with me gain me versus being able to see out my window without a shadow?
I think that there is a solution that can be found, and I would have to have that discussion on a one-on-one basis with a representative.
So I guess what I'm looking for the board to do is to sit there and think about how it impacts the residents and to really look at the turbines on a case-by-case basis. And those that are close to where people live, close to their acreages, that are gonna throw a shadow out, look at those and do not allow the wind turbines to come and lengthen those blades. They can replace those turbines with the same size blades or even smaller blades. If they want to keep the windmill running, just don't lengthen it. There are other options that they could do.
I don't know if I can answer. What percentage of your windmills out there actually affect, do you know this?
I do not.
How many windmills are in the Endeavor 1 and 2, or whatever you call it?
There's 60 total turbines.
And what percentage do you think is houses are affected by?
I wouldn't have a percentage off.
Is it 10%, is it 20%?
It's more than that.
As far as affected by shadow flip?
Yes.
You'd almost have to ask house by house.
Okay,
I don't have an answer for you, they don't have an answer for you today.
I'm just asking a question.
Because each individual homeowner has their opinion as far as whether it affects them or not.
Through here.
So you'd have to go house by house.
Extras are the notes.
Now, what I can tell you, if you want, I can look through the data provided on the site plans, and I can tell you which turbines are non-conforming as far as distance setback, if you wanna know that information.
That'll give you an indication.
Yeah, and that'll be in my report next week.
And we'll also have that third-party consultant that did the report for us, they'll have a representative here that can speak towards it.
Just not the ones that are by acreage.
And can I add something
Yeah.
quick? Just for the record, a notice was sent to a Michelle Abedy and a Randy and Carol Ross, 1335 Vine Avenue, Harris, is on the list.
You said Monday?
I don't know when they went out, but this is the list that all properties are notified. So,
Michelle just said we got ours yesterday.
Yesterday in the mail, we dated February 13th, right? Is that what that letter said?
Yeah, just when I got back, I got 2 phone calls yesterday. And I don't know if I got any before, so maybe they're just getting them, I don't know.
Dated 13th, we just received it yesterday.
Okay, so I may receive it today. Hopefully.
And ultimately, at this point, the Board of Adjustments, the zoning meeting next week on Tuesday the 5th at 4 o'clock in this room would be the deciding time. Gentlemen, is there a course of action you would like to take? Or, I guess, my thoughts, I'm not saying it's, but is that we can make a request to, or a suggestion to, or action, a statement to the Board of Adjustments at that, my understanding of when that determination will be made.
They know the rules a lot better than I do.
Well, I just let Steve maybe talk to this, because, I mean, just to make sure, you know, we delegate responsibilities of, you know.
right, and just for the record, for the public's information record too, the Board of Adjustment is the group that's gonna be making a deciding factor. So, for informational purposes, it was fine what was discussed today. The Board of Supervisors really has no decision-making authority on the conditional use of the variances. That'll all come down through the Board of Adjustment. It wouldn't be out of the realm if you want to make a recommendation or suggestion to the board for additional consideration, that would be, but as far as any action items, just from a legal standpoint, it would come down.
I think they should really consider the homeowner if that's the right way to say
I
that.
don't disagree, but do we require neighboring property owners to maintain how tall their trees are so you don't get shadow off of trees blowing in the wind? Or I have concerns on how much do we say to a resident or a property owner on what you can do on your property, and that's
I'm
where
just
I
saying, that's my suggestion, if you guys don't think
I
that's
would
good.
go along with that suggestion, because, I mean, if you're not affected currently, and this is going to make you affected by extending the length of these ways, that's a discussion that needs to be taken into consideration.
Well, that's why I like what they said, that they're gonna meet with each one individually, anybody that's got a concern, call them,
But there's,
let's see what you come up with.
And I guess the question I have real quick off that too, and I apologize for coming in a little bit late, but I caught some of your comments. Did you guys say that you built a house on the property?
Yes, we built a house where an existing house already was.
Okay, but the house you built, was that house built after the current wind farm was up?
Yes, we just built it this past year.
Okay, so,
We knew that we were gonna have a shadow from one window.
right,
We positioned our house so we would not have a shadow from the surface. So, if the blades increased, because where we could see the shadow before we built,
right.
we're gonna have a shadow on the
I
front
agree.
of our
I just think, all information on the table, it is a considering factor that, you know, somebody made a conscious decision to build on a property that they knew had wind turbines around it, so.
I did know that, but I also knew that we had setbacks that had, the windmill was only this high, it's supposed to be this far away. So
And I'm not,
to me, that should make no mistake.
I don't wanna get into a debate today, because that's for the Board of Adjustment meeting, but all factors considered, no turbines are changing location on this project.
No, their impact is increasing.
Potentially, correct.
I don't know if you were able to look into it any further, and reach back out to you, but I had a question after our last meeting, whether we could include, requirements that maintenance be performed if something like the fire that took the unit out, it just sat there, came off the tax rolls, and let them just sit and wait and decide when they wanted to get back to it. Well, I would like to see, okay, if this is what you're wanting it to do, is produce energy, then if it goes down, let's make sure that it's repaired in a timely order, or that it doesn't go off the tax rolls and just wait until you guys decide that, if it stays on the tax rolls, it may be the incentive to, all right, let's make sure
well, I mean, I think our decommission plan should have addressed that, the one we already had on the books, it was already outside the window for being addressed, and I don't know why that wasn't implemented in that timely fashion it should have been, and I don't know whose job it is to enforce the zoning ordinances we have on the books, but what we already had when that burned up should have been addressed by what we already had on the books, and it wasn't. It was well outside the window to address it, so like I said, I don't know whose responsibility it is to enforce our zoning ordinances. Is that the Board of Adjustment? Is that Aaron? I don't know.
I didn't even know wind turbine had burned up.
Then there's the matter of there wasn't any notification back to the assessor's office that it was repaired and put back on, and raised and put back on the rolls. So, I don't know.
as to concerns about the roads, we have used, I would say, an improved process to require that any damage, that any needs for accessing windmills during their efforts, that we have, I think, a better agreement in place. When the repair was done to the one that burnt up, have we heard any complaints as to the condition of the roads, or how things were left, or were there negative impacts from that experience?
No one said about when they replaced readers windmill.
So
This was
anything
the
going
initial,
forward would
yeah.
be similar to what was done with that one, and from my understanding, that was handled well, or went well. So I would hope that if this goes forward, that would be
Are
not the
they
issue
gonna-
that it was
right.
initially.
And, I don't know if they're gonna do stuff that was similar to, what they did in Dickinson County when they put up theirs. Are they gonna go through and spray down the gravel roads so everyone's not dusted out during their process of moving trucks in and out? I don't know. but you guys probably won't need to move as many trucks in and out with just replacing the turbines, as opposed to building from the base up.
That is correct.
But we do have an extensive road use agreement that we're in the process of getting
Now that,
approval now.
that is what the board will approve, like they already did in the first round, and the county attorney had gone through that. We're still going through the second round of one, hopefully the next week can get that finalized as well, too. But again, that is something that is for the board to actually take action on, because that's not protecting the county's assets, it's roads, it's bridges, it's culverts, those type of infrastructure.
Have you addressed any of the water issues that she was discussing?
I mean, yes, to some extent, but I didn't know about this specific situation that was brought to, by
I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Aaron Holmbeck,
Holmbeck.
the county engineer.
O'Connor?
O'Connor, Mike O'Connor, yes.
He's been aware.
Okay,
He's been
cool.
informed.
Good.
He was informed,
Just
Right.
recently, or?
well, he was informed last summer, and he was informed the year before that, I believe. At one point, the county came out and bladed down the driveway, and then the windmill company came back in and rebuilt up their driveway.
Okay.
So we tried to remedy it before, and
So it looks like something took place, and I wasn't aware of it, but it took place, in the normal course of our functions and our duties, and then the down got changed again, it sounds like.
right, I mean, it's gonna be an issue, I mean,
Uh-huh.
the road was washed out last summer, badly.
Yeah, we
If
had a lot
somebody
of
hits
flooding.
that at night, and you guys have already been aware of the problem, it's been brought up in a deposition, the windmill companies, I don't know if you guys have read the deposition from the Scott Rader's lawsuit or not, but it's been brought up, this has happened on multiple occasions. So, I don't know.
Definitely something to look into, because it's really tough on Mill County roads with redirecting water with the.
You have
And
a
getting
location
gravel
for
and
me
road back from the crop,
on that?
it's at 1349 Vine Avenue.
The driveway for that address?
Driveway, windmill access road. Road washes out, everything goes into here.
Can I keep that?
I guess it would be my opinion that I would hope that the Board of Adjustment would review these on a case by case rather than a blanket approval for the setback adjustment.
For the record, can I interject?
Yeah.
For the record, the way we've treated this permit, there's gonna be 3 agenda items on the agenda for next Tuesday's meeting. Kinda like I talked to you a couple weeks ago. So one is a conditional use for the repair, maintenance, upgrades, whatever we wanna call it, doesn't matter, but the new nacelles and the new blades for all 60 towers. So that's being done by conditional use. The second agenda item is a new, and that's an amended conditional use permit.
But it's for all 60 at one spot,
That's
not
for all
individual.
60.
Yeah.
The second is, a conditional use application for 3 new meteorological towers going up within the parameter of, I believe, Endeavor 1, area. And then the third agenda item is gonna be a variance for each of the affected, properties that do not meet a setback requirement. And, I've identified those properties in the notices that went out, specifically by wind turbines, and I'm doing that in the report for the Board of Adjustment. So I'm breaking out, specifically calling out turbine numbers, turbine, 1, turbine 2, turbine 23, turbine 35, turbine 40, whatever, I'm calling out specifically all the turbines that are affected, and I'll identify which turbines are affected by a setback to a property line versus which turbines are affected by property or by a setback to residence or dwelling. I can tell you, out of the probably approximately 30-ish or so turbines that are requesting a variance, there's only less than a handful probably that, are, setback issue to a residence or dwelling. That's a much, much smaller number. Most of the setbacks that we're dealing with are a setback distance to a property line or a road right of way. So some of these turbines sit almost in the middle of a section, but because they're only, 300 feet from a property line of somebody else in the middle of a section versus, the required 498 feet, it requires a variance, even though it could be in the middle of the section. So my point being is there'll be 3 agenda items, and I've talked to the representatives from NextEra, and I've talked with Aaron about this a little bit. The approach we're taking, and this started clear back in December when we initiated this whole process, we are treating these going in as like a blanket review process for the project, based on a project, the encompassing project area. With that said, the Board of Adjustment has the right, and if they so choose to, they can pull out one by one and discuss an individual turbine site if they want to. That's definitely within their realm if they want to. And I will list, providing for the Board of Adjustment, an individual listing of all of the turbines that are going to require variance. If they've got issue with, turbine number 30 for whatever reason, they can pull it out, we can have a discussion on 30, they can make a recommendation on just a single turbine, and yet have a recommendation for the rest of the turbines and the variances as well. Does that make sense? It's just,
So how many
it
of
seems a little frivolous to go through 35 public hearings, it's just it would have been an administrative nightmare. So we are treating it as a project.
But they will have the opportunity to look at individual towers.
Absolutely.
How many of those are close to county roads for the setbacks?
Again, I'd be glad to provide the information to you. I can send that to you in an email. I've got all the information here with, I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I know there are some issues with throw from ice and the whatnot for having those that close to the road.
I will tell you from what I've seen so far on the site plan, some of the turbines, do have setback issues to a public right of way. And it may be the 300 feet away and they need to be the 498 feet away, or it may be, some of them are very close. Some are 495 feet and they need to be 498 feet. But, variance is a variance. So, I don't have a specific number for you right now, but, again, that'll be included in my report for next Tuesday for the Board of Adjustment.
And then Aaron, you'll be there representing the county's interest on those public right of ways?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would, it is an open public meeting, and I would encourage if there's supervisors that want to attend, they can. You absolutely can, so.
It's a public meeting, so that's, I guess, one thing that, can come of this too, is you guys are welcome to attend,
I just would add that we were, willing to treat the project as, go through the entire process and provide all the required documentation for a conditional use, as if it was a brand new conditional use permit. Which means that we've had public open houses, which in most cases, when you're seeking a variance, you're not necessarily required to do that. We've had, lots and lots of one-on-one meetings with landowners, adjacent landowners, obviously to educate them about the proposed project. And then we've also had landowner dinners for the landowners who are participating in the project. So.
Have you been contacted by anybody yet?
No, and neither has, Marshall McLean, Tom Ransom, Steve Kramer, Dean Ramsey, Jeff Heidley. I mean, a lot of the people that I got signatures from that live by windmills have not been contacted by the windmill company. A lot of them didn't know that these changes were even going on.
So, I guess it doesn't mean that I can say that we've spoken to every single person in the footprint of the county. Our land agents are the ones who meet one-on-one at the kitchen table with landowners as needed. I'm just saying that those have been ongoing for over a year, those meetings, as necessary. But I think the comment was made that we're trying to sneak this by without informing anybody in the county, and I just wanted to let you know the efforts we have made to work with the county and residents in the county, and those who are involved specifically with the project.
Yeah, the sneak things by comment was not directed towards that, it was directed towards the repairing versus modifying. That was it.
Okay, and so, I guess, in defense of our willing to participate, as if this is a brand-new conditional use permit, we're not seeking anything by, we've been fully compliant with meeting all of the county's requirements and working with your hired, regional planner.
But if you're gonna throw out that you contacted all affected landowners, and you clearly haven't, I mean, there's still work to be done to work with those people.
Well, Steve, I don't know what to say, you know, we've had the open houses, and we've had, done the mailing.
And nobody reads the paper anymore, I mean, come on.
Everything has been done in accordance with the ordinance,
And to do for others what they won't do for themselves either.
so.
But if you're gonna tell me that you've contacted all these people, I would expect that all these people that live in the affected areas would have already been contacted, because you're already telling me that you've done it.
Well, what I can tell you is that the county requires, we submitted by a certified abstractor, a listing of all affected property owners within the designated area by ordinance. And we have a list of documentation, and letters were sent out to those property owners on that list. So,
Those get sent certified mail, or they just?
they are not, and they're not required to be sent certified mail.
The reason why they're not sent certified, sir, is because if the homeowner is not home, then the mail person does not leave the letter. It goes back to the mail house, and then we're required to try and send it out again if they don't answer. Pardon?
They usually leave a notice that you've got, that you signed for.
So, our company that did the mailing said that there's no guarantee that the landowner, if they don't answer the door, that they will retrieve the letter. So then they can say, I never got a letter. This way, sending it uncertified, it goes straight, and it gets dropped in their mailbox. And there's no retrieval back and forth, or, you know, not going to pick up the letter at the post office.
There's a lot of things don't make it through the mail, but.
We followed the rules as laid out by the county ordinance.
Like I said, if it's gonna be addressed down at the Board of Adjustment, they're gonna look at this, I would just hope that they do take into consideration, you know, and I'm sure these people will show up at the meeting on Tuesday, so.
Are we interested in making a motion and a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment?
I would make a motion and recommend that they take into account the individual landowners that do have the issues living close to their homes.
I support that.
Motion by Mr. Jones, support from Mr. Helmers, to state or have the auditor read exactly what the motion is.
Recommending that the individual issues close to their home looked at.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Questions, comments? All those in favor of making a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment in that manner, signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming
I
in.
appreciate your time.
And thank you to everybody else for coming in as well.
If I could, real quickly, before we close this issue, just for my information, and so the board is aware too, one thing, hopefully I get answered today is, so the board of supervisors is gonna review the road use agreement, and that's fine, that's perfectly, like Aaron said, that's perfectly within your right, probably responsibility to
We
review.
wouldn't need to do that unless the Board of Adjustment takes action following the project, right?
Correct, correct. My question is within the scope of the updated conditional use permit, there is a decommissioning plan that's been submitted. We've got two choices. It can either be approved as part of the conditional use process through the Board of Adjustment, or I can pull it out, and we can treat this as a separate agreement. And if you want it to run through the Board of Supervisors, and you guys review the decommissioning plan, and look at it, and approve it, that's fine. Because what I'll do in the conditional use process is I'll say that a decommissioning plan is a part of the conditional use, subject to approval by the Board of Supervisors.
I would prefer that. I
I would too, as long as it's okay to do, you know what I mean? I would too.
Yeah, it is, that's fine, and I mean, the decommissioning plan it's something that doesn't need to be done ASAP right up front in order to initiate the project. I mean, they can be going on through construction. The decommissioning plan is what happens after the improvements are made and after the turbines are up and after they're running. It's just something, it's an agreement between the county and the owners of the development, treating the decommissioning of the turbines if they cease to operate.
I would like to handle it as part of the road use agreement.
Well, there's two separate agreements.
Sure, I understand,
But
I mean in
they
conjunction.
would, follow the same process.
Yeah, I'd like to handle it in conjunction, like it's kind of,
Right.
in a sense, the whole kit and caboodle.
Right. So,
Yeah.
are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
I'll treat it that way, I'll just make it a part of the conditional use of that, but it'll be subject to review of the Board of Supervisors. So,
Sounds good.
But were there other options in addition to the current language that you wanted the Board of Supervisors to consider today?
we talked about that, and that's what the chairman and I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago, and that's language that might be implemented. I mean, today, the comment was made from the supervisor here, who's not here now, about the county having an existing decommissioning plan for the existing. I haven't seen a copy of that. If I could get my hands on that, I would like to see a
I haven't
copy.
found it either.
Okay,
I don't
so
care
maybe-
about it, you know.
So maybe there's a plan that exists that we don't have a copy of.
No.
I don't know. And I'll talk with NextEra representatives and see if they have a signed copy of a decommissioning plan from when they purchased the project. If not, we might be starting from scratch. But, what was submitted with the application was a decommissioning plan submitted by the applicant. So this is something that, is familiar with them from their ownership, and this is something they've submitted for review, but, it hasn't been something that's been thoroughly vetted and reviewed by the county at this point, so. But it would be a starting point.
I would encourage you guys to exchange information so that a variance discussion could be had, and provide some information.
And as far as the tax issue, you gotta talk to your legislator, we're stuck on that.
Some of those things are just, anything we can weigh in on it, but it's very no.
We've had that discussion.
I just brought up what was discussed, with the people that I interacted and got signatures from, so it's not just my concern, yeah.
So what does the Board of Adjustment need? Just a copy of the supervisor's minutes for this recommendation, or how?
I wrote it down, but if I could get a copy of the minutes, later this week, that would be great, because I'll make note of it in my report to the Board of Adjustment. Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you.
Jack, you're up. Thanks for your time.
He's got an 11 o'clock item too, sorry Jack, what's your day look like?
I'd like to, get out of town to work by 11:30.
Sorry?
It is, as far as the handbook goes, unless there's other issues other than this one here, I can offer, you tell me what direction you wanna go, I can offer you some things up to look at.
Would we be open to maybe modifying 4.2 inclement weather courthouse closing situation? I'm not opposed to this. When extreme weather circumstances arise, the Board of Supervisors or designee will determine if it is necessary to suspend county operations. It just becomes logistically impossible to call a board meeting and have the board as a whole make the decision. I'm not trying to avoid that, but I don't see how it would be possible. Do we want the wording to just be chair and vice chair, along with the auditor, or, I was under the impression that the auditor was kind of stuck with it, but this really says, unless we really designate them, I would like them to be involved, because they have better pulse on the officers in the courthouse, but I would ask that we just change that language to chair and vice chair, along with the auditor, or that they can be the designee. Okay. And then, yeah, I think we
How
should
does that
address the full-time, part-time
How does
wording.
that time and a half thing work with that close to the courthouse?
Jack's got other counties that are facing that too. I believe that
The inclement weather?
the safest approach for us would be to pay employees that are required to work on days that we close the courthouse, time and a half. I don't know if there's a legal standing as to which way you should go.
No, I'll tell you what's normal. I'll tell you what most everybody does. And some of them have that in their language. Employees that are required not to come to work or sent home get paid for their regular time. Employees that are on accrued leave time use their accrued leave time. Employees that are signed up for accrued leave on that day have to take their accrued leave time. 24/7 operations are just 24/7 operations, they just continue as is. That's the norm, that's what they do.
I would say that road crew technically would not be a 24/7 operation. You know, their hours typically are standard business hours, so.
So I don't know how much you wanna say, but I'm just saying that you don't have to say that in the handbook, but you need to know what you're gonna do.
There should be something laid out on there for how that affects folks when we do that.
Because if the proper management, it does continue in that, sorry, if the proper management authority determines the county facility shall be closed because of inclement weather conditions, the employees will not have to make up the time not worked and will be paid at the regular rate. But that's if you're not in. To me, the proper management authority would still be the engineer that says, let's get on the roads and make sure they're clean. I personally think it should be regular pay and they're doing the job that they would have done that day anyway. Much of my thoughts on the courthouse are, do we really want people that are out and about to come try to renew their driver's license or whatever, you know, if it's that bad, do we really want to give them a reason to go out? But.
Yeah, we're not making the determination for his crew whether they stay or go. It's just here.
That would be how I view it. I never know how it could get argued when it gets challenged or how much weight it carries, but.
I just have a question for Aaron. If the weather is that bad, do you send your guys out to try and push the snow?
It depends, yeah, we do. Sometimes we have to, during the daylight hours, but sometimes if it gets too bad, if it's snowing and blowing, you have to pull them because it's actually dangerous, So, I mean, it depends, on the conditions, and they might go out for go out for 3 hours and then pull off, you kind of monitor the weather, you're on call, you know what I mean? You're on call, is what it comes right down to.
I had one kind of off the handbook question, well, it's a handbook question. If you skip your lunch, can you leave early?
I believe each elected office holder determines their
What if you're not an elected office holder?
Well, I just think the courthouse is open during the business hours that are established. If the auditor doesn't want her staff leaving at 4, because she's there till 4:30, and to me, that's within the operation of each individual office. The doors of the courthouse are open, that office should have staff available to meet needs. Under that, I guess that's where I would say that's the department head or supervisors.
Because if everybody did that same thing, and hopefully the offices where everybody left early every day, you wouldn't have anybody here.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, just because you skip lunch every day, you get to go home an hour early.
The only way I could see that is just say they had a doctor's appointment.
But, yeah,
Something like that, then skip lunch to go to a doctor's appointment, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But it just be done every day.
No, you got flexible things that come up in life, you know what I mean, but in general, we have courthouse hours,
Like just
as a rule of thumb.
Personally, I don't think we would say that. I think we open the doors to the courthouse for the hours that they're open, and each elected office holder determines how their staffing is during those hours. I would not personally want to weigh into
can't do that, you can do that, that's,
I didn't know what our policy was on it, if you decide you're gonna not take lunch this week and leave early every day, can you leave early every day?
I would discourage it myself.
but we have officers in each of those that are on the ballot and answerable to the people, and if people are unhappy with.
Not all of them.
So I can see it happening once in a while, I don't have a problem with that.
But not every day. And I don't know how that's treated in other counties. As far, is that a normal occurrence? So, I wouldn't think so.
No, not necessarily, no. I mean, but most all of them do it the way that I described to you about when it comes to pay, and they have a system that somebody makes a decision, which is usually the board chair. Sometimes when they only have 3 supervisors, it's a little simpler operation, but they normally, if it's the board chair, they're normally making that decision based on the information provided by the sheriff's office or somebody else, so where the conditions are, or you already know that's gonna be really bad, but, you know, I mean, that's the way they do it.
No, I'm just talking as far as skipping your lunch and leave early every day. As a normal practice. I'm not aware that that is a normal thing.
No, not that I'm aware of, no. Sorry.
All right, are we confident in the cell phone use wording and the use of a stipend versus county issue?
Yep.
That would be sufficient, okay?
See you Monday, Jack.
You want to?
Did you write down my question?
Yes, I have that.
You could send out an email to us just to confirm that you're gonna.
Okay.
But if we could get some of those.
I'll do that. So, let me be clear about the inclement weather. You want to designate the pay thing more clearly than it is now, or?
Well, yeah, 'cause there's nothing that says,
See, because I'm sorry.
there's nothing that says we have to do that, so I don't know, how you can have a policy in place that you don't have in the handbook to do.
Well, and the other thing you'll run into, if you haven't yet, is these people that are on vacation or whatever, and they'll cancel their vacation day so they can save it and get paid because the courthouse is closed. That doesn't happen anywhere that I work for, so they're on vacation, they're signed up for leave time, no matter what that leave time is, they have to use the leave time, they don't get to cancel out and pick up.
I think it would probably be good to define that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll write it up because, you know, you may want to tweak it or something. I'll write these up and I'll offer them up to you and you can take a look at them and see what you want to do with them.
And then we look forward to seeing you again next week.
I'll be here. Oh, weather willing, I'll be here, so.
You'll send out an email reminder of.
For the negotiations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time and.
Preston's still pushing for in the communications going on, we're still pushing for the mediation. The problem is, he forgot to tell the mediator we're meeting on Monday.
Okay.
So I brought that to the mediator's attention.
Okay.
I told him, Jason, I'll put these things together for you, take a look at it and see if they need to be adjusted or need to have more. And then we'll move on from there. And then if there's anything else you know of that we need to address, you know, then we'll just, so we can do it all one time, make it easier for you. Okay?
All right.
I'll see you next Monday. I don't know if you heard me, but I said, well, you were having the windmill inspection, like Preston's emailing the mediator asking about, you know, about having the next Wednesday. And I emailed back to the mediator, you know, which copied him, and I said, well, are you aware that we're having a negotiation session on Monday, and we may not need or it may not be necessary? So Says, no, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay,
Well, thank you,
thank you
gentlemen.
very much, sorry to drag that out.
No, that's all right, I appreciate your,
Thanks,
I didn't have anything else this morning, I just have something this afternoon.
Patience and your guidance and help.
Yeah, I'm not trying to belabor the negotiations, communication thing, but, you know, I mean, I'd like to keep you informed as much as I can, you know?
And we appreciate that.
I'm not trying to bury you with information, but you did know, so.
I'm shaking my head just like you are, so I don't get frustrated.
Yeah, I'm there, I just shake my head all the time when I read these emails.
Okay, we have a number to call for Mr. Dressler.
Thanks.
See you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Where's
43, right?
Hi, is Ivan in, please? This is Rochelle calling from Othello County.
One moment, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Ivan.
Hello, Ivan, this is the Osceola County Board. We've got everyone here, our new auditor Rochelle, and representative from the local paper, all remain in the room right now.
Okay, in starting out in regard to, Rochelle, were you able to get, printed out, plans and report for the board?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Starting out, in regard to today, what we'd be doing is filing the preliminary plan, for Drainage District 43. Based on the petition that was filed by Paul and Harold, Feldkamp, they were wanting an evaluation of the district facility, 43, due to the increased, loading that would be coming down from Drainage District number 9. The board, in our understanding, accepted the petition on January 8th and directed a preliminary, investigation with, for the purpose of going to an informational meeting with the landowners. And this report is intended for that purpose. The first portion, the project history and the scope of the study, we tried to lay out in that, on first page, an overview of the situation at Drainage District 9, and that the Board of Supervisors back in 2015 had an informational meeting, and ISJ was directed to evaluate the needs for joint improvements to DD 9 and 43. We note that a letter report was filed back in August 24, 2015. It outlined the findings for recommendations for joint improvements. And to note with the board at that time, what was preliminary proposed was a grass waterway across the lands, the lower lands of 43, to provide a stable means of taking the additional surface relief from Drainage District 9. Landowners present in 43 were not support. And basically officially moved forward with doing anything with 43 at that time in 2015. A formal engineer's report for the Drainage District 9 improvements were filed on December 29th, 2015. And as you know, the remonstrance back in March of 2016 ended additional proceedings on DD9. Then on April 5th, 2018, the board again received a petition on drainage relief in DD9, and with that, with the proposed recommendations for a replacement tile main being approved on December 11th, 2018. Then we summarize again the petition now that has been filed in regard to 43, and that this report is covering our findings in regard to that study on 43. The investigation lays out the capacity. If you go to page 3 of the letter report, there's table 1 shows the existing tile capacity, and this tile capacity is based upon providing a half-inch drainage coefficient for the lands in the upper portion of Drainage District 9, and then providing a 3/8-inch drainage coefficient for all the lands, or the rest of the lands in the lower 9 and the lands underneath 9 and 43. The most restrictive segment of the tile system is the segment between Drainage District 9's junction and with 43 down to where branch 36 comes in. If you have your plan sheets there, if you look at drawing A.02, the existing alignment of the tile system is shown there. And I see that there's a mistake. There's the 24-inch tile extends down to the junction of branch number 36. Oh, excuse me. The 24-inch that's represented there is actually the proposed relief line that we'll discuss here in a minute. But the existing tile between branch 36, where branch 36 comes in, and at the top end where DD9's tile out our junctions with 36, that tile system is a existing 24-inch in there, and that is the most restrictive segment of the tile system. Below it, the tile increases to a 28-inch down to branch 24, and then increases to a 30-inch down below that. So that is summarized there in the table of the adequate percentage of capacity is shown there on your far right-hand side of table number 1. We then go into improvement options in regard to what could be done. We discussed basically 3 different options. Option 1 is the surface relief waterway, and obviously this would be the cheapest alternative, where we would put in a larger relief structure at the junction between DD9 and DD43 on the recommendation of a full replacement on number 9 was because it was too shallow at the top end and fairly shallow at the lower end, and to provide a new system that would allow for, better pattern or, additional drainage off of it, lateral systems off of it at the upper end, it needs to be deeper. In 43, we would not have that situation, and so putting a relief line in adjacent to the existing would provide the capacity necessary, and you would still be cheaper than a full replacement. The third option that we have evaluated is a partial tile replacement. This would be looking to address that most restrictive segment of the tile main between branch 36 and the junction of Drainage District 9. And if that segment of tile was replaced with a 30-inch tile, it's on the grade, the existing grade, it is not quite 100%, but it is 92% of adequate capacity for the entire watershed. And from that point down, using the existing tile main, that tile system would have about 64%, 65, 64% of the capacity for the improved watershed up above it. Now, 64 is still not great, but what it would do is would reduce the frequency of any surface relief down below, and would save significant dollars in regard to the cost over the full parallel relief pipe. So, if you also then, let's just flip back to the cost estimates provided with the report in Appendix B. The first proposed cost estimate is for the grass waterway, and as you can see there, we're estimating a construction cost of around $121,000. By the time you put the note that in our cost estimates, we state that there would be expected cost savings if these projects were done together. If any of these options were done with the project at Drainage District 9, there would be savings in engineering, the engineering administration, and, contracting and administration would be savings there.
But
for the purpose of this one.
Oh, sorry, you were probably saying that. Go ahead.
For the purpose of this report, we are assuming these are standalone projects. So, in here, we have estimated as if 43 is doing this separate and on a separate schedule from DD9. Okay, so the construction, again, the construction costs at around $121,000. Improvement project total around $106,000. And then when you take in the right-of-way acquisition, and again, this ground would be taken from the landowners, so you would be paying, and we estimate to the, parallel improvement file, release file, the release file, construction, $327,000, with the engineering and contingencies, $418,000. And then when you project in the annexation, reclassification, and warrant interest, $458,000. And then the third option is the, partial tile replacement, a $223,000, $298,000 with all the engineering contingencies, and then, $332,000 with annexation, reclass, and project warrant interest. So, we're, going from options, long term, what would be in the best interest long term? Well, again, the lands down below DD9 do have surface relief pretty much throughout that portion of the watershed. There is an area back on Branch 36 that there is some lowlands there that do have to go by the tile system. The 65% of adequate capacity, from Branch 36 on down, we do believe would provide adequate subsurface drainage, and we would have to monitor what the results on Branch 36 would be like. But we think it would be pretty much probably functioning very close to what it does today. The other portion of the report, annexation, on your plan set, again, if you look at the sheet 8.03, we have a landowner's plat there with the lands around the perimeter on the lower portion of the district, that there would we would recommend annexation of those lands. We would also recommend that any of those lands that do not currently have land inside of the assessed boundary be notified of this informational meeting also. So there's about 255 additional acres down there that are proposed for annexation. The other thing that we talk about is the annexation. We also talked about, there would be the need for reclassification of 43 also as part of this. And then the farmed wetlands, we did go back, the updated, since 2015, the updated wetland inventory maps do not show potential wetlands in basically the full watershed of 43, including the lands in 9 and 43 together. So we would expect if there's going to be any farm wetland, it will be dealt with the tile improvement of DD9. We do not feel there would be any wetland issues to deal with Drainage District 43. So, there was no estimates of wetland mitigation included in those cost estimates. The opinion of probable cost section pretty much summarizes what we've covered, the cost estimates themselves. And then in the discussion section, we talk about the fact that, Drainage District 9 had the right to improve their tile system, which has been approved. That we have evaluated 3 different options for possible, drainage relief for lands on the lower segment in 43. We also talk about the fact that the existing open ditch segment of this tile system, or below Highway 59, the old record showed that the district tile used to go direct to, the open ditch of DD 11 down below. But sometime in there in history, they removed about 370 feet of the district tile and excavated the existing open ditch in there. With any of the improvements, we would recommend repairs to that open ditch. There is unstable area where the existing tile system outlets into the ditch, and then they use culverts to outlet from this ditch into DD 11. And those culverts are actually undersized capacity-wise, but which doesn't make a whole lot of effect on 43 tile because it's outlet high enough above the bottom that it would not get submerged on a very regular basis. So, but we do include the evaluation of the 43 open ditch in there and the discussion about, repairing that. And then the final section is a recommendation section, and we have basically stated in this that that we have an informational meeting with the landowners to discuss what would be the desires of the landowners in the district before proceeding to any kind of a formal hearing process.
You were saying there'd be a savings on engineering if they did them both together. How much do you think that'd be?
I guess I haven't formally looked at that, but I'm going to guess that you would probably be in the neighborhood of potentially in the $10,000 range.
Okay, thanks.
That'd be on all 3 options?
That would be on all the options?
Yes, that would be pretty much any one of the 3 options chosen in doing it with the project at DD 9. Now, and I don't know exactly, I haven't thought about, would that total savings be all given to 43, or would it be shared between 9 and 43? That would also need to be discussed as to how that savings would be split up.
What percentage of the cost?
And then,
Ed has a question.
What percentage of the?
Most likely that's what but that would give, I think we would want to make sure the bigger portion of it went to 43, instead of, well, I guess it really doesn't matter, because if you put it all on 43, all the landowners in DD 9 are also in 43. So, by doing it all on 43, you'll be sharing that across the board with, all the landowners in the district.
So, Ivan, what percentage of the cost for making the improvements at 43 will be assessed to 9?
we could make a preliminary estimate on that, based upon the watershed areas. The one thing, all the lands in DD nine are using 100% of Drainage District 43's outlet. What we could do is take a look at a centroid location, of DD nine and come up with an average percentage and estimate how much of this would be paid for by DD nine.
Okay.
I have not done that, but we could easily do that for the informational meeting.
That'd be good to know.
Okay? Additional questions by the board?
No, not by me.
Well, nine's cost just went up, didn't they, Ivan? Again?
Well, yes, I mean, theoretically, this cost, is in combination with, the improvements being done by DD nine. Now, and we talked about this back in 2015. The scary thing about doing this in this fashion, where nine's approved improving their facility with 43 now looking down below. All the landowners up in DD9 have remonstrance rights to the improvement on 43. Because they're part of 43. So, it could be the fact that the landowners up above could say, well, we can avoid having to pay additional costs down below by, basically, just leaving their tile relieved to the surface and not doing the improvements on the 43 tile. I don't know how that will shake out, but the fact that this thing's done in that fashion. Now, what 43 could, well, no, again, in this situation, it had almost been better if 43 did not have the lands of DD9 included with them, because then they could improve their tile system and common outlet DD9 with 9 not having any rights to stop that.
I'm curious how 9 can be entirely a part of another district. I'm baffled on how, I understand that it drains that way, but I don't understand how you can have a district and then that district can be entirely a part of another district. To me, it would be, they should be neighboring. If we're doing annexation, is there a way to either separate the two or make them all one?
Back in 15, we did have the discussion about 43 you could dissolve DD9 with 43 taking over the facilities of DD9. Now, obviously, the tile from, Highway 59 all the way up to the junction of 9's tile. Then the lands down below in 43 don't pay for anything on our tile in DD 9. So if it was all one combining facility, the lands in 43 would be picking up some of the cost of the overall main all the way up through the system. So there's, over history, there was some advantages in the fashion that the way it is for landowners in 43. Now, the only risk that they have here now is, will the landowners up above, support basically improving the main down below? And would guess that the majority will, but I don't know until the hearing process takes place.
Everyone in 9 is also part of 43.
So how many people would you have to get to get questions on that?
There's two of them.
And if I was going to guess, I would say that the lands up in 9, the upper portion of the watershed is probably going to pay, I'm going to ballpark it, Ed, you had asked, I'm going to ballpark about 65% of total cost, being to the lands up in DD 9.
Okay.
But they're also the ones receiving the most benefit from 9's improvements, so it's gotten away from them.
That's right.
It's not as vital to continue from where it gets bottleheaded next or whatever.
But if they can keep it running way faster.
But in all reality, it's gonna be pretty cheap for 43.
Yes.
To make that improvement to that 9 drain, because they're gonna have to pick up 65% of that cost.
If not, okay, do you have a I'm not trying to limit the question. Other questions, gentlemen? You have a recommendation as to proceeding?
Information.
Set up that information.
We would recommend, that the board would, accept this letter report today and set an informational meeting with the landowners of the combined district, including also the land to be annexed or proposed for annexation in 43. Now, the DD 9, already has gone through the annexation of additional lands in DD 9. But if you look on sheet A.03, up in section 34, we have a lot of acres that had to get annexed to the inside of the boundary of DD 9. The overall assessment boundary of 43 is shown here with that black, white dashed line. And there is only one piece of ground that is inside of the overall watershed of DD 9 that is currently not inside of the boundary of 43. And that little piece would also be annexed as part of this proposed annexation on 43. It was unusual that 43 was assessing lands in this upper portion of the watershed that Drainage District 9 was
little piece
just
would have
wanted
been annexed in
to point
nine,
that out.
that little piece in 34 would
That
have,
was, yeah, it is annexed into 9, but not officially into 43.
right, okay. Well, first you recommended acceptance of the letter. Do we want to do that separately by action, gentlemen? Mr. Schulte, accepts the preliminary report and letter. Mr. Jones supports it. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Okay, next you identified setting an informational meeting date that would cover both the improvements and the annexation. Correct?
That is correct. We are recommending in discussion, yesterday, with Rochelle, we talked about, setting this for your second meeting in March. Now, if you wish to do it, in between weeks, that could happen, but I'm tied up on, March 12th. And, I'm gonna be gone through March 10th on vacation, starting here at the end of this week, and then we'll be back that week of, March 11th, but I'm tied up with a hearing already on the 12th. I had suggested if you wish to go with the date of your second meeting, that would be the March 26th date. Or if the board wishes to do it before then, that would be up to the board. But the 26th would be open for my end and would be providing, additional time for, the auditor's group to be able to get the, letter notice out to all the landowners.
Okay. Our regular meetings seem to be popular with nods around the room. Do we have a motion to set that?
I'll make that motion.
Or do we?
And would that be the, time and place also should be included in that motion?
Okay.
Here, the time.
Do we have anything yet that day? Fine, awesome.
It has to be closed session that day maybe for litigation possibly, but other than that, nothing on the 26th of March yet.
So
For 9:30?
9:30.
9:30 on the 26th be a possibility, Mr. Dressler?
Would you be doing it at night?
Or in the morning at our regular
Or
board
day.
meeting?
Okay, and that's fine. I mean, in the past, you've held your meetings,
Yeah, this would be a separate drainage
at
district
night,
meeting.
nighttime.
Still wanna do it here? So solar and outdoor to do it.
No great options.
I'd say then, what time, 7 o'clock?
The motion is now to have the meeting on March 26th at 7 PM at the courthouse.
Yep.
That's supported by Mr. DeBoer.
Okay.
Any further discussion concerning that? All those in favor of that meeting, date and time, signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So then will you send our listing of all the annexation parcels too? I know we have it on this map, but you would send us an actual list, so we don't miss somebody.
Okay, well, yeah, we can prepare that.
Okay, thank you.
I would just
Yeah, we
like,
have not compiled that, we haven't compiled that list, but, we can easily compile that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you. Just so I got this straight, because I get lots of calls on this drainage just for some reason. District 9 will also have to approve any improvements on District 43, right?
Not necessarily, the landowners in DD 9 are also landowners in 43.
Yep.
So it's not an action by the board as trustees of 9, you're only acting as trustees of 43. And yes, so all the landowners in the upper end of 43's watershed, which is also, the overlying DD 9 watershed, would have rights of objection to the improvement on the system down below.
So they can dump the water on them, but yet they can still deny it, right?
Yeah, this is one of those legal situations set up in the code by the fact that 43 was a forming district later on, and instead of combining the facilities at that time, which is a little unusual because they could have easily established 43 as a separate district if they were trying to avoid landowners upstream objecting to the formation of the district down below.
All right,
But in this case, but yeah, so yeah, we're in a situation. We have the situation where, yes, 9 can dump on the 43, and yet they have a vote because of them being included in 43.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to double check that, so.
So the time 43 was established to the benefit of 9 as well, so rather than just pay as a new 43 smaller area, they included 9 so that the costs were spread out more. And now down the road, it creates different issues. I guess that.
Yeah, and remember that when Drainage District 9 was established, it outletted to the surface. And so there had to be there was a natural drainage swell, and I'm assuming to make that ground down below farmable without having an open ditch is why the 43 tile system was installed.
All right, thanks, Ivan.
Okay.
So then I'm sorry, I have on the 12th of March that we have to appoint an attorney, is that correct, for DD number 43?
Well, yes, and, we would recommend that you, for moving forward, Pat, you really don't need a legal counsel through the informational meeting at this stage, but, assuming that this moves beyond the informational meeting, you will need legal counsel on board, or we would recommend you have legal counsel on board. And, obviously with, Jim Kramer serving as 9, we would also recommend that he serves with 43.
Okay. We did add to the agenda item, drainage ditch number 9 update. Did you have anything you would like to update on concerning that, or?
Just the email that, I did ask, Jim to respond, and he provided an email motion to dismiss, the conference call this Friday at 10 o'clock. And the judge is requiring the attorney who filed the suit and the attorney for the Farms Corporation, that is, basically taking away the shares from, Jesse, that they participate to make sure, evidently, just to make sure that, the judge understands how this thing originally got filed and, make sure that everybody's on the same page that they're withdrawing their issue.
In line with that, I did call Mr. Kramer yesterday, had a conversation, I wondered if there was any potential to ask for damages on behalf of the district for defending an appeal that wasn't filed timely and that doesn't have standing to file it. And he said there may be a way that you could go about that, but he didn't know that it would be worth the time and effort. Try to say that he will raise the question with the judge. He indicated he would raise the question with the judge at that telephone hearing on Friday or the first, but yeah, he expressed concerns as to how valuable that effort might be or successful it might be.
Yeah.
What likelihood there would be to capture anything were it awarded, so. No trust his.
That was what I would expect that, his response would have been, because in the past, that's, been a very difficult road to go down trying to do that.
But it's unfortunate for District 9, DD9 residents to have additional costs for that it shouldn't have been, but. Anything further?
So all I have.
Okay, anything further, gentlemen? All right, thank you very much, and I guess enjoy your vacation, jealous as I am to hear about that.
I'm not even worried about the next snow coming in.
All I gotta say to you on that is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll talk when we get back home.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ivan.
Bye.
Okay, gentlemen, we move up to consideration for resolution number 23, deleting property from the 2003 Urban Renewal District 1. References the issue where the mill or CFE is actually built on parcels that were still in the urban renewal area for District 1, Fairleigh Ethanol. This is deleting a portion of what will still be parcels A and C, creating that as parcel I. Parcel I will be deleted from that urban renewal area with this resolution.
I'll make that motion to those effect.
Mr. Schulte makes that motion. Mr. Chalmers offers support. Any further discussion? Following due consideration, as it says here, I'll put the question on the motion, and a roll being called. Mr. Schulte, how do you vote? Mr. Helmers?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Mr. DeBoer? Yes. I will vote aye. Okay.
Where's the line for abstention?
Yeah, I just put it on there. I have added.
Next item, considering would be ordinance number 51. This would initiate the process to now identify parcel I that has just been deleted from the other urban renewal area. have it included in, no, this is the ordinance deleting that parcel. It is part of that. Sorry, I had myself. This is now the ordinance deleting the property from tax increment financing district, not UR district. This would be moved by Mr. Helmers and seconded by Mr. Schulte that the ordinance be given its first consideration and that it be adopted. Any further discussion on that action concerning the ordinance number 51? Hearing none, then I will, that would be a roll call. A roll being called, all right, Mr. Helmers. Aye. Mr. Schulte. Aye. Mr. Bohr. Aye. Mr. Jones. Aye. And I will vote aye. Okay, we flip the page and an ordinance needs to be read at or acted on at has three readings. This provides the opportunity to waive that requirement as code allows. I'd be interested in using the statutory rule that waives the reading. Looking for someone to make a motion and support that the statutory rule requiring said ordinance be considered voted on for passage at 2 board meetings prior to the meeting at which it is finally passed be suspended.
Motion.
Mr. Schulte. Mr. Bohr, offer a motion and support to waive that, suspend that requirement. Further discussion? Mr. Schulte, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Bohr?
Aye.
Mr. Helmers? Aye. Mr. Jones? And I will vote aye. Final action then would be to make a motion and support that the aforementioned ordinance be given its final consideration and be adopted.
Make that motion.
Motion by Bohr,
Support.
support from Mr. Helmers. Discussion, this will be final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 51. Mr. Bohr, how do you vote? Mr. Helmers?
Aye.
Mr. Schulte?
Aye.
Mr. Jones? And I vote aye. All right, then, we would move on to the next item on the agenda. This would be considering resolution number 24. This is setting a date for a public hearing on the designation of the expanded 2017 CFD urban renewal area and urban renewal plan. With parcel I no longer part of the previous UR area, this would be an amendment to include it in the CFD UR area and plan.
It's gonna have to be March 26th. Doesn't the resolution have it on March 26th, we did that.
amendment was a mistaken typo that should have been part of the previous resolution 24. Review and discuss bids, receive and award contract for a community resurfacing project.
Give a couple quick updates to the board. One, before I forget, is in regards to the, urban renewal area. I got an email and a call from, Rochelle yesterday when I returned about the legal description for Tyler Avenue in the urban renewal area. And so I went back and I gave that information to Wayne, because he had provided that originally. And from what I don't know the background here. Has there been some discussions about this? That I'm aware of too, or like with John Daniels, or, how did the legal description come up again?
They had it in their records, and they need to have it for some formal documents, so we want to make sure that that is the correct legal description. That's why I forwarded it to you, so
Gotcha,
to
okay.
verify that it's the correct
Yep.
legal description of Tyler Avenue.
So it is not, they were correct about that, and the reason why, I think when they originally established it, it was still in the preliminary phase like 2 years ago, and so it was like a 100-foot strip, and then we added 20 on each side, I think. And in the end, that road meandered because of the houses and stuff, so they actually reviewed that, and it's close, but it's not, I think the actual defined right-of-way is what they're typically gonna define finally. I don't know how that process works with the urban renewal thing, but I'm letting you know that I just found out about that at the end of the day yesterday, so.
I don't know how that, make sure he has accurate information for that project. It's the project that's supported by the UR area.
Yeah.
So you're going to get an updated
Yeah.
legal description?
How does this, schedule-wise, what should I tell Wayne, like, on that, like, is this something that goes to Danielson, and does this get acted on with this thing on March 26th?
Or yes, he's going to include it in the amendment, just to make sure. that-
Okay. Yep.
But to have the description, so you can put it in there, say, ASAP.
I'll verify that with Amy, she thinks that the 26th is soon enough, or maybe it's March 12th. I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
No, we're putting the road, or we have the authority to work on the road, we should be able to get a legal description.
Correct.
Short order.
You're correct, I think. And so, then another update, I spoke to Wayne after we spoke this morning about Tyler Avenue letting, he said that's fine. Is 10 AM okay, or should we be there at 9, or what time do you want him here at?
What date?
On that March 5th for, approving final plans.
10 sounds good to me, 10 o'clock.
Is that good?
Yep.
Okay, so 10 AM.
We'll have heard back from the DOT on that, right?
The DOT is getting the plans today. So, I guess we'll have to see where we're at that point.
We can't go letting without their approval.
Nope, we cannot go to letting without their approval, correct. Yep. So, a couple ways that we can address this, I guess I can look at the date, what is today, based on that, we're looking at setting a bid letting date of the 27th. What is today? Okay, so theoretically, we might be in the time frame, because it was 30 days prior to letting, I think, based on her email. So we still might be good. And I'll keep the board informed, we will not let this project without, and even if we take action, it'll be contingent on that.
When would bids be due?
Right now, we'd be looking at March 27th. Be a Wednesday.
We can move that up so that we can consider it and take action on the 26th, since we have a meeting that day.
Well, here's the thing, I was thinking, we were looking at that March.
We can talk about this later.
Yes.
It's really,
Let's do a
agenda
time
item,
frame.
Sorry.
Yep. I understand. It has to do with time frames.
This concerns the recent bid and award contract for the road improvements, overlays, things like that you're doing.
Yeah, congratulations, guys, thank you guys, we just got a really good price on a project, extremely good price. And, yeah, we had the most bidders probably in the history of this county. I even talked to, Tom Snyder, said, no, they've never had more than 3 bidders. He ever remembers on an asphalt overlay project, and this is a company, 8 bidders, guys. It was highly competitive. We had 2 bidders that were $20,000 apart, which is nothing on a $5 million project. which makes me feel even better because somebody feels they didn't leave a lot of money on the table, because anybody would have picked up the value for them. It was really successful. So yeah, congratulations. And hats off to you guys too for, there's a lot of reasons why this happened, but it has to do with the whole team, everybody involved with this, so.
Well, and just, you said before, the sooner that we can get to the letting for Tyler Avenue, the more that this process could impact what we find on those, so I don't want this dragging out, like, it seems to be.
Yes.
I think that, I'm actually very hopeful on Tyler Avenue, that's gonna be successful. This is gonna create competition both for the concrete and the asphalt both. They're gonna fight hard. And I think it's gonna actually create a nice fight.
But when we get to letting.
Correct, I agree.
All right, so your recommendation is to accept the bid provided by Blacktop Services Company and Subsidiary?
Correct, and, due to,
And award the contract?
Yep, exactly. Awarded to the parent low bidder, Blacktop Services, for $4,838,729.14. My engineer's estimate was about $5.2 million, and it wasn't, it was a very, competitive estimate, I think. It was not a high shooting estimate. I was literally right in the middle of the pack. And just with that price, that was $360,000 savings, and I think it was actually more of the way we did this and structured this. I bet you we saved $500,000, guys. Big picture here.
Ellen, any more action?
I make that motion, award to Blacktop Services.
Low bid and award the contract to Blacktop Services. We have a motion from Mr. Helmers and support from Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify with aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. No, now that it's awarded, I think it's public information now, especially.
Ours are getting destroyed.
There you go. It'll be, it's not a big deal now.
No, the only thing I ask is just so both roads aren't torn down at the same time.
Yep, it's scheduled, it's all written in the plans, in both plans.
So
Both my plans that I put together and also Wayne's plans.
Okay.
The coordination effort of that. We'll have to coordinate directly too with CFP during that time.
Okay.
The goal is to get Tyler Avenue open so that we can reroute it. You know, now that M18 is always a bypass. With Tyler Avenue project and happening, we need to keep a truck route and a detour route available. Yep.
Did you get that 2080 squared away?
I did. I sent that out before I left here, and I got that to the city of Wachito. So they're here.
They had their meeting on the old office, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's, they had their meeting. So we sent it out to those people so they could read it over.
And Norman and I, we expedited that, and got that, address, and then, sent that off to Arlen for submittal to their their board, to their, their council members and their, and whoever they want to review it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep. Cheated on that after our last meeting, we talked it over. Now that you have extra time. That was the right thing to do. It works.
Claims remaining to consider. I identify 1737 as possible water service.
Make a motion to approve claim 1737.
Schulte and Jones make a motion support to approve claim 1737, Boston Water Service. All those in favor signify with aye. All those opposed, same sign.
fix it, shut.
Here's DD number 9 and 43.
Somebody will fix the poop bar, so. The country fix it, shut. Fix ice, yeah. Must be somebody with poop bar, just to fix it.
Here's DD number 6.
I know what. Way down, that thing would be dead, wouldn't it?
Over by Main City.
Yeah.
Everybody look on the claim, make a motion to approve. Motion from the board to approve the remainder of the claims.
So why was this spelled out for conservation?
I don't know why it was built up conservation, but it's a drainage ditch. Beaver stuff, not conservation. I'm not too sure why.
I'll separate it.
Mr. Schulte, we have motion and support for the remainder of the claims. Any further discussion?
Who requested the removal of the deer?
I don't know, Nick brought it in to conservation, or to Secondary Road, and they just brought it up to us, and we say it. I don't know, yeah,
Was it in a drainage district?
yeah.
Okay.
And that's who
Who
it's,
requested the work though?
I don't know if it was Nick, or I don't really know for sure.
I've never had beaver dams removed over a section of the river I'm in.
I know we paid for it in the past.
They do,
For Derrick,
they will pay
Derrick,
for it.
yeah.
Did somebody ask for
Yeah.
that removed?
Claim.
It's a drainage ditch claim.
But the invoice was made out to conservation, so I wasn't sure how.
Yeah, I don't know if Nick, I'm not really sure the history on that, he just brought it down there, so that was a drainage ditch claim, not a conservation claim. It's a drainage ditch, it's not even that long.
We've got a motion and support to approve the remainder of the claims. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. I am going to make my exit, as I need to be in from guard at 1 o'clock.
Meeting scheduled for March is 5/12, this is 5 o'clock, or the 5th is 10 o'clock.
We haven't set that as a date.
Oh.
That wasn't part of our March schedule. You gonna do that? That's not a problem, I need to go.
Okay.
I do not intend to, at this point, attend the Farm Bureau thing tonight. We've got a online for the funeral for my wife's family, so preparing for that.
I should go, so why not?
Yeah,
7 o'clock,
yeah.
should be starting.
I need all of you.
If you wanna add it, or that's fine, or amend them all, I don't care. Mr. Jones, feel free to. Thanks, guys, have a good one.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion for the 5th at 10 o'clock for Tyler Avenue.
Don't forget coffee.
No.
Board of Adjustment, you gonna go that night or that afternoon or? Is the boarding of grants tonight?
No, Thursday,
Thursday? I don't know why for some.
I want to say it's the end of this Thursday.
this Thursday at 5:30.
Yeah, in Melbourne.
We scheduled it from last week, so.
Because of the weather.
I didn't see it on the email.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. But
twenty-eighth. So that beats us Thursday.
Do you wanna call for a vote?
So, somebody wanna give me a motion to adjourn?
No, we made a motion for the fifth,
Oh. For the fifth floor,
Tiger Avenue.
no, somebody wanna give me a motion for that?
We did, we already seconded.
All those,
Or somebody seconded.
all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. There's your.
We make a motion to adjourn?